Hello, and welcome to Insightful Conversations with your host, Three Principles practitioner, Adey-Jones. Join her each week as she welcomes some of the world's leading Three Principles teachers and practitioners who share how this understanding has dramatically improved the quality of their lives and the lives of those they work with.
I'm very excited to have Rachel Langer with me today. Rachel is a professional coach working with individuals, couples, corporate executives, and teams. She guides her clients to practical solutions and new understanding so that they can move more easily and joyfully through life. She works with clients from around the world from her home in Los Angeles, where she lives with her husband and daughter. Hi, Rachel. It's lovely to have you with me today. I'm very excited for this chat we're going to have. We're going to talk about how flexible we're all finding out we are during these last few months. But before we do that, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you came across the principles and how they impacted your life.
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. This is really fun for me. So I appreciate that. I love being in this conversation anytime and with tons of people. So any different people and perspectives are fun for me. I came across the principles maybe 3 years ago now, 4 years ago. I actually was recommended to call Rohini Ross from a coach of mine who's not really in the principles actually, but she said, Rohini's doing this thing now, and I think it might work for you. You should call her and talk to her. And so I ended up doing that, and my husband did too. And we talked to her and Angus, and it was really helpful. And to be quite frank, we didn't really talk about the principles at all. I never heard the principles. We just talked a little bit, and it was helpful. And then one day, Rohini was hosting an event up at Carrie's house with Elsie. I think Dickin was there. I'm not sure. And she basically needed help. Like the person who was supposed to help her wasn't feeling well. And she was like, if you're interested, it's kind of the same stuff we've been talking about. Do you want to come up and just help at Carrie's house and check people in and organize things and just like be an extra person there and just listen in, and you might like it. And I was like, all right, whatever. I happened to have the day free, so it worked out. And I remember sitting there and having no idea what anybody was talking about. Like I wasn't even planning to really pay attention. I was really just like going as a favor for Rohini. And she said, oh, you might be interesting for you. So I thought, okay, I like Rohini, I respect her. So I'll go. And I sat there in the back, and I don't remember anything anyone said. I have no recollections at all, other than I felt totally, totally calm. And I'm a person who has been pretty high energy and really type A in the past, and kind of suffered with a lot of those things. And I remember sitting there and noticing, like the whole day, like I wasn't fidgeting in my chair. I wasn't checking the time. I just was so content just sitting there and listening to people talk. And it was shocking to me. I mean, I remember coming home and my husband saying, like, what happened? Like, what was it? And I was like, I don't know. I have nothing to report, but I feel really good. I feel great. I had a great day. And he's like, what do you mean you had a great day? You can't remember anything? And I was like, no. I was like, Carrie has a nice house. That's what I remember. Like, I couldn't remember anything. I mean, and I went back the next day and I felt the same way. And so that was really the start for me of like, of just being really curious. Like, what are they talking about? And why does it feel so nice and peaceful and easy? And like I came back into my life and things just felt a little looser, and that felt good to me. And that was interesting for me.
I love that. And it's so true. And it speaks to exactly what Sid was pointing to, which is look for the feeling, don't
That's
listen
right.
to the words. So
Long before I ever knew what that meant, that was my experience.
yeah.
I really experienced that. And that's what it hooked me. I was just like, I want to know more about that. And to be quite frank, when I did the mentorship with George and Linda Pransky up in La Conner. And when I called and had my kind of meet and greet with George to see if it would be a good fit, basically when he started talking and I started talking about what I do, and he said, oh yeah, you're already teaching the principles. You just don't know it. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So it was like, oh, okay, like I was already in it, like we all are basically, right? I mean, we're all in the principles all the time, whether we know it or not, Right? It's like gravity. We don't have to know gravity is working or understand it. It's still happening.
Exactly.
Like that's the principles. And so once I started working with George and Linda, it just helped me see even more clearly and more deeply, like, oh, what I'd kind of already been grappling with. And I was like, oh, it just made so much more sense all of a sudden.
No, exactly. It just gives a language to it. A very
Yeah.
simple, I love it. My son calls it Buddhism for dummies.
Oh, yeah.
And it just perfectly describes it, because it sort of boils down everything we've already learned and heard about and know about and everything. And it just puts it in a very tangible, easily digested way of going, oh,
Oh,
it.
yeah, just that. Yeah.
So that's great. So that's wonderful. And I know we were talking just before we started recording that you're really seeing, oh, I'm very grateful, as we all are, for this understanding, especially during these times where there is so much unknown and so much uncertainty. So I'd love to hear what you've been seeing or what your clients have been sharing with you. And let's go in that direction. I think that would be very helpful for people, particularly during these times.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's helpful for me to keep talking about it also because, what I've noticed for myself is in the beginning, I felt like I was doing great. I feel like in the beginning, like some people were really struggling. And I was like, no way, man, this is great. I got this. Like, I like being home. I got a great kid. Like, my husband and I both have rooms in the house. We can work. Like, everything's good. And other people were struggling. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can help them because I'm not really struggling. I'm doing great. And I would say, like, maybe 4 weeks ago, I hit a wall. And thanks to the principles, it occurred to me that it was just my turn. It wasn't real. Like, it wasn't any more real than I thought anybody else's turn was in the beginning when I was fine. I just was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. And I was angry with my husband, and my daughter was driving me nuts. And I was like, I got to get out of the house. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't even care why it happened to be my turn. I just felt rotten. I felt discouraged. I felt disheartened. And it felt really real. It was like I was kind of in the hole. I was in the muck for a good week. And thankfully, I had like little moments, like I had little glimmers of thinking, like, maybe it's not real. Like, just wait, just wait. Okay. And then I was like, I need a divorce. And I was like, just wait, just wait. I had this like, I need to leave my child. Just wait, just wait. And thankfully, I don't know, it was like a Monday. And then on Sunday morning, I remember I just woke up and it was like the fog lifted. And I was like, oh, okay. I see it now. I feel better today. Yeah. Now, I don't know why. I don't care. I'm certainly not going to spend time digging around trying to find out why, right? I learned my lesson on that. But it was really helpful for me to see like how dark it can actually look, like a reminder, because I don't go there that often anymore, but just like so helpful because I talk to people a lot of times who feel dark, right? And are stuck and are struggling with things. And so just to remember like, oh yeah, me too. Like I'm a card carrying member of the human race and I get stuck in the mud too. And that week, man, it was probably 4 weeks ago now. I mean, I was just at the bottom of the gutter. I just felt like it was all over. And so it was helpful to see it, and then to come out of it and to be like, oh yeah, that looks so real. And now it's like, oh, wow, not real at all.
It's so funny. I think you might have caught it off me because I had it about the week before.
Oh yeah, it's going around. Yeah, we're taking turns. Yeah.
It's so true though, because it's so great, as you say, because life is so much easier. And not to say that, when we talk about, things are still happening, but I love what I'm a mentee of George and Linda's too. And I love what George says, which is like, learning to be grateful for the highs and graceful with the lows.
Yeah.
And knowing that, but it is good to be reminded sometimes what those lows feel like. Yeah. And I did the same. I was brilliant at the beginning of COVID. I was like, whoa, I get to stay home and actually do stuff instead of running around all the time. And then probably about, maybe somewhere around the same time, 5 weeks or 4 weeks ago, I hit a wall too. And I was like, whoa, where does this come from? But all we need to know is it's going to pass.
Yeah.
We don't need to do anything other than that.
It really reminds me of Amy Johnson's weather analogy, right? Human weather. And just, I was so thankfully I had just some little flickers of like, oh, it's just stormy weather this week.
Mhm.
And I was able to remember that. And not even every day, just like a few times in the week when I thought like, oh, this is it, I'm out of here. And it was like, oh no, maybe it's just stormy weather. And it is, because it always is. Even when it doesn't look like it is, even when it seems so real. It's like it's just stormy weather. Just like when it really is a storm, it's like that's real. It's actually raining and blowing and snowing and windy and all the things. Like it's not real. It's just we know the weather will change. For me anyway, when I'm in that dark mood in a dark place and it feels so terrible, I forget that it's going to change. I think it's forever. I think this is it. I don't remember. And so it's like that idea of like, oh, I forget. And then I remember again. I forget and I remember again. And I assume I'll do that forever. And hopefully, right, I just keep looking in this direction. And it's like, oh, I forget less often. And when I remember better each time, maybe not.
Yeah.
But that's as good as it gets. And I'm happy with that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm happy with that.
It really is. It's like if that's as good as it gets. I mean, it really is. It's massive. It's huge. I always say like people, come to us, wanting to sort of change their experience of life, and it's not, we're not changing thinking. We're changing our relationship to our thinking. We're just not taking it so seriously anymore. It just doesn't grip us like it used to. But it still happens. We still get those days where we have the crazy snow globe is like shaken up or whatever it is. So tell me, and you also mentioned something about uncertainty, and it always makes me laugh when I think people, me included, think that anything is certain because we are constantly in uncertain times. This feels a little more uncertain, but we never know what's going to happen next. Nobody could have ever anticipated, maybe a few scientists would have anticipated COVID, but for the vast majority of us, it wasn't in our awareness or consciousness. So I'd love you to talk a bit about that.
Yeah. I think, for myself and maybe Dell for you, and I know some of my colleagues and other coaches and people who are kind of in this work, I kind of play in this notion of the unknown and, life is an illusion and a dream and all this. But I have to say, this has really brought it into focus for me for the first time in my life in a really tangible way that we can kind of say, and I have said many times, right? We don't know anything. Like we think we know, we think we have control over things, right? We don't know anything. We have no control. It's an illusion. But honestly, it was a lot of talk for me because I felt like I had a lot of control in my life before this, right? I organize things. I'm a planner, things go a certain way and like it works out. Now, I mean, just it's so starkly in focus in so many ways that what a reality the illusion really is. And sometimes I find it liberating. Like, oh, thank God, I don't have to worry so much. Like, I actually don't have to do so much because it's not up to me anyway. I mean, it never was. I thought it was, but now I really see, oh, it's not. I mean, things change every day with schools and kids and work and going to the store, not going to the store, whatever it is. And really, I don't know, I'm just really trying to live it like all the time in all the things that happen and really just be in really trying to deepen my understanding of what living with that liberation feels like. Because some days it doesn't feel liberating, right? Some days for me, it feels totally discouraging and scary, to be quite frank. Like, what do you mean you don't know? And I get really trapped in that. I have to know and I have to plan. And what about school? And what about, and then I come to my senses and I'm like, oh yeah, there's no knowing. Like maybe I can plan tomorrow, maybe this week, but sometimes even not this week, sometimes not even a week. I used to plan 6 months out. Like, forget that. So it's just like such a real reminder. And again, for me in my lifetime, 40 plus years, it's just never been like this. And, my parents are 80 and they've never had this either, and just trying to figure out like, when do we see each other and what's it going to be like? And school, they're asking about my daughter's school and when can, they see their own friends. And there's just like, we don't know. Like for real, we don't know. And again, it's fun and it's liberating and it's scary. And again, to me, that's the principles in action. It can be both things at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. All experience is welcome.
Yeah.
I had an experience a few weeks ago where, oh my God, I think I was it wasn't the sort of the dark place that came like 5 weeks ago. It was a different experience. I think it was all around the riots, and I got some backlash from having put a Black Lives Matter thing on my Facebook page. But I remember, I think in the space of a day, my experience went from all the way to like joy, love, to pain and suffering and everything in between. And I remember standing back and going, whoa, this is what it feels like to be alive and a human. And there wasn't one single emotion. They weren't like good emotions, bad emotions, ones I wanted to move on faster than others. Even in the sadness and the tears, it was like, you stick around as long as you want. It was such a great feeling. But I also think it's sometimes a curse of a very bright, intelligent type A organized person is to get this concept of you're not in control.
Yeah, it's not up to you.
Yeah,
I know.
it was easier for me to take my hands off the wheel, but
Yeah. I think, one thing that I didn't know before the principles and really kind of diving into this understanding and talking, with people like George and Linda and Rohini, et cetera, about it was this idea that I got to be so many things at the same time and it wasn't inconsistent. Like I got to feel really excited about something and really scared about it at the same time. I could feel, excited about something and still grieve the same thing. And that was reasonable. Like I didn't know that. I thought it was one or the other, or I was missing it, or I was somehow, not again, like consistent or kind of in my right mind. Like it can't be both at the same time. You can't have it both ways. It's like, oh no, you can. I can. I did not know that.
yeah.
And it's such a relief. There's such a freedom and like, wow, it can be really great to have my daughter here at home all the time and have family time. And like, we've had some amazing days and moments and activities, and other times just be like, this is horrible. I hate this. This sucks. And have it be both, sometimes on the same day. Even the same experience can be great. And I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah, the same day. I'm thinking the same.
Same hour. Yeah. Same everything.
Yeah, you literally just, and it is. I love that, and what you're pointing to is that just all experience is welcome. There is no, good, bad, and labels we put on things. It is just part of what we do, and you get to see how changeable we are from one moment to the next.
Yeah. I asked, I had a client yesterday I was talking to, and he was sharing how anxious he was and stressed out about a project he was doing at work. And so I asked him, because this is a normal question for us in the three principles, of course. I said to him, well, why is it bad that you're stressed out? Like, what's the problem? Seems like, yeah, you got a big project and deadline. You can't get this data. Like, sounds stressful to me. I mean, he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, isn't stress like a normal human experience? Like, do you know any human who's never been stressed out? Like, doesn't that seem reasonable? He was like, I guess. I was like, well, then why is it a problem? And it was just a totally different level of conversation. We had then a really interesting conversation about, well, what's the problem with stress?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to be stressed? Can I be stressed and still do a good job? Is stress required to do a good job? Some people think yes. Right? Well, if I'm not stressed out, I'm not really in the game. It's like, like what? It was just like, I never would have that conversation otherwise. Without the principles and understanding, like, okay, so you're stressed out. Now what? As opposed to let's manage your stress, right? As George used to say, right? Like there's a leaky roof, right? You're going to put a bucket under it, or you're going to fix the leak. It's like, no, I'd rather fix the leak. So putting a bucket under it is let's manage your stress. Let's have some tools versus like, let's fix the roof. Like, why is it a problem if you're stressed out? Why is it a problem to be human? Like, let's see. Because he was upset that he was stressed out.
Yeah.
I was like, see what we can do with that.
It's so that's why I have my surrender painting.
Yes, I see it.
because it really is, it's the resistance to whatever's going on that causes the suffering, not what's going on.
Right.
It shouldn't be like this. It's, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And it's like, exactly, it's like, as soon as you change that relationship, and it's like, so what, you stress is right there. Your experience changes.
Yeah.
Not that you're not going to have those stressful
Right.
thoughts coming in. You just are not going to try and go to battle with them and control them and change them and beat them into submission. I mean, you've just worked yourself into even more of a anxious, stressful position by doing that.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's wonderful. And you know what's something else that you talk about, which I love this. It's like there are no exceptions. I love because, well, first of all, set it up about what we're talking about, that there are no exceptions. But just in case somebody's listening in and they're thinking, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. Well, I thank Aaron Turner for the no exceptions. I did not come up with that. It's something that he said to me at a workshop. And we were talking about the principles, and I have been struggling with my diet and trying to eat healthy. And I don't really like healthy food, just to be clear. And so I said to him kind of offline, like not during the group, but like privately, I was like, but Aaron, and I don't know Aaron. I just went up to him and I said, I understand this whole, principles apply to everything. I said, but, I'm trying to eat healthy, but I don't really like what I would consider to be healthy foods, salads and greens and things like that. It just isn't like my taste buds is a biological function. Like I can't control that, right? And he just looked at me and he said, Rachel, no exceptions. He kept walking. I was like, damn it. I didn't know what he meant. I mean, I'm like, okay, like I hear that, but that didn't help me. And it was not till a couple months later that I kind of had a moment, an insight, where I was like, oh, it's not that I need to like healthy foods. It's that I don't have to care if I like them or not. And it was a total game changer for me. It was like, I thought it mattered if I liked them. If I liked them, whatever that even means, right? That's probably next level. I'm not there yet. But I thought it mattered if I liked them or not. And then when I realized, like, oh, I'm making it really important what my preferences are. Like, I'm making my preferences mean something. Well, I mean, as I said in that program, like, I'm basically a vegan now.
Yeah.
And I don't really love it. I'll be honest. Like, I don't love greens and eating, like, the taste of those foods don't thrill me. But I feel better. My body feels better, things that other people report on other kinds of diets. I'm not espousing a vegan diet by any stretch, but for me, it helps me physically feel better. So it's worth it to me. But it was a game changer to realize, like, oh, I don't have to like it. There's tons of things I do in this world, like laundry. I don't have to like it. I just do it. I don't think about it. Somehow spinach and salad felt different to me than laundry. Like, I don't have to like it. Just eat it. Okay. It was great. It was great. Totally changed my life.
That is so funny. I love it. When you're talking about it, it reminds me of a dentist once I had it was a dental hygienist. And she said, are you flossing every day? And I said, yeah, I really, it's such a getting in there and everything. And then she went, you know what, just floss the teeth you like. No, floss the teeth you want to keep.
You want to keep that.
It just made me laugh because it was like, yeah, sometimes you just do it even if you don't like it. It's, it's good for you. You have to do these things. So that's so great. I know so many people that the yeah buts. Yeah, but I see it here, but I don't see it here. And so what are some of the eating vegetables is yours?
Yeah.
What are some of the ones that you have?
Oh, I have a lot.
Oh, you have a lot.
I have a lot of yeah buts. I mean, look, I'm still on the path. So one of my big ones is my husband, who I love and is a wonderful fellow. But there are many things about him that really aggravate me. One of them is that he's quite messy and I'm not. So that's challenging for me, especially in COVID times when we're all in the house all the time. And I had a moment, this was also a couple months ago, when I just had this idea, like he leaves his clothes around the house, like he'll take his socks off watching TV and just leave them on the floor. And like the shirt ends up in the bathroom counter. Like, again, like things in 1,000 years I would never do. I don't understand it, but he does it all the time. Always has. Like, why did I think it was going to change? I don't know. But I had a moment where I thought to myself, what if it was charming? What if it was charming that he's a total slob? The fact that I could even have that idea to me was hopeful.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think that. I still yell at him a lot about the socks, as he'll attest to. But like, I felt like there was hope. There was hope that I could imagine there could be a moment when I found it charming and kind of like delightful. That's a yeah, but for me. Right now, a big yeah, but for me is school with my daughter, who's 5 and supposed to start kindergarten, which will now not happen. And like, what's going to happen and how is she going to be? And is she getting what she needs? And I mean, that is a very deep rabbit hole that's happening regularly for me right now. But when I remember, like, no exceptions, like, she's fine no matter what. She's fine. She's got her good days and her bad days. She's going to learn certain things and not learn other things. It doesn't matter. She's still going to be fine. It's a constant kind of, again, remembering and forgetting for me. But it's a good thing to, like, no exceptions there either. Like, no exceptions. And my father turns 80 this year. We were planning, obviously, a big celebration on a number of levels for work and personal and family and everything. And it's like, not happening. That feels really disappointing to me. Like, I'm quite upset. I'm like really upset about it, honestly. I feel sad about it. I feel grief around that. Not going to see him for a while. They live on the East Coast. I live in Los Angeles. It's like, sometimes I really, like, no exceptions. Yeah, but, they're not going to be around forever. I could go down that rabbit hole. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes to go down all the time. And there's no exceptions, right? The environment is another one. One of my sisters is a bear biologist out in Alaska. And it just came through that a huge mining operation was just approved in the wilderness of Alaska, where she works with bears, the largest bear sanctuary, wild brown bear sanctuary, I think in the world, maybe certainly in our hemisphere. And it could very well be destroyed by this mine. Now that, like, makes my heart go. Like, that just puts me over the top. And no exceptions. Like, none for the bears either. Right? None for the environment. Now, again, I don't know how. I can't see it, but I know it's true. So that helps me, right? That helps, like, bring my temperature down. Even though I can't see the solution or the way through or what's going to happen, the fact that I know in my gut that no exceptions is real. Okay, one day, hopefully I'll see it. And maybe I won't. I might not see everything. Hopefully somebody will, but it might not be me. I just do the best I can in this lifetime. But there's no exceptions. If I'm okay, the bears are okay, the planet's going to be okay. Like, it's going to work out somehow. I don't get to see it all the time.
Yeah, and I think there's a misconception when people hear that. They think that it has to look a certain way for it to look like it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes things don't look to us humans that's still okay.
Yeah.
We don't see that as, we experience death or something like that. And it can look like, well, it resilience wasn't there, innate well-being wasn't there. But it's so different from that. We have this concept, it has to turn out a certain way to prove that the principles were in action. And so I find that fascinating because I'm one of 7 children. So I have the perfect, for me, it's always like, I do believe that life impacts us. As Sid said, life is a contact sport. But when you've got 7 siblings, you can see, or 6 siblings rather, 7 of us, that the same event can be happening, but we all experience it so differently. And it's not just perspective, it is really like 7 different universes going on right there. Yeah. I love that. I love the separate realities, the grace that brings when somebody sees, like your husband, in his world, socks on the floor or shorts
totally reasonable
on the counter. Exactly.
What's the problem? Yeah.
He doesn't even see them.
Yeah.
So,
one thing though that I think sometimes I hear that people get stuck on or tripped up on, this idea of like, it's all okay, like it was all going to work out, means like, oh, we don't have to do anything. And just to be clear, like, I don't think that at all. I do a lot of stuff, whether it's giving to charities, doing work, outreach to people, contributing to the causes that I believe in, I don't sit on my couch eating popcorn, just like hope it all works out. Like,
Yeah.
I still take action. It's not that we don't take action. It's important actually to do things in the world. Because as you said, like, the world is happening, like life is happening. We don't just sit on our couch and hope everything works out, but just realizing that no matter what we do, there's, it's not in our control what the outcome is going to be, but it doesn't mean we don't do the things that we think are right. It doesn't mean that we don't do the things that we think are important in the moment. Exactly. We still make choices. We take actions. We have preferences. We do things. We're human. We have our human stuff that happens. And we hopefully keep our perspective on what that means. And we do our best always. And we do as much as we can, around the things that really matter to us. And in the end, it's not going to work out the way I want all the time, maybe even a lot of the time. Exactly. And how do I handle that? No matter how hard I work at it, right? No matter how much effort I put in, no matter how much action I take, I do the best I can, and it keeps going. Life keeps going.
Well, we are actually at time. I could keep going for another whole show with you here on this subject. That was wonderful. And I love what you said at the end. When we get quiet, we don't listen to the little personal mind, and we are guided by wisdom. Wisdom's got a lot of stuff it wants us to do. I've noticed that. I'm much busier when I'm coming from that place than I am listening and planning and strategizing up here on my own. So anyway, thank you so much. It's been really lovely having you here.
It's wonderful. I love to see you, even though we're really just around the corner from each other. This is really fun to see you and connect with you. And I really appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, me too. It's been fabulous. Well, take care, and thank you so much.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you're interested in learning more about my coaching and mentoring packages, please reach out to me at Adey-Jones@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you.